Types of Communication Part 2. For each type of communication, there can be formal and informal methods, as well as one-to-one, one-to-group, and one-to-many relationships. Let's look at different types of communication. Verbal communication. Of course, you know how to communicate verbally. There's not a single day when we are not surrounded by verbal communication. However, there are many methods to improve our verbal communication skills. You might ask, why is it important to improve verbal communication skills? Well, with better verbal communication skills, we can communicate with a variety of people, express our ideas effectively, and understand many different perspectives. So, what can we do to improve our verbal communication skills? Eye contact. Whether you're speaking or listening, eye contact is an essential part of verbal communication. Through eye contact, you show that you are paying attention. Use good vocabulary. Successful communication is being able to say what you mean, and this requires a good vocabulary. Using the right words when talking makes you a more effective communicator. One way to improve your vocabulary is to read. Whether it's the newspaper or fiction, exposing yourself to new vocabulary will benefit you. Pay attention to the tone and volume of your voice. Remember to adjust the tone and volume you use based on the context. The tone and the volume with which we speak lets the listener know how we are feeling. Example, when you ask your friend to come and play with you and they refuse, you may want to ask them why they are not coming to play. Now pay attention to these two tones. Why not? Ask in a low questionable tone, and then why not? In a high irritated tone. Did you notice any difference between these two tones? While the first tone is low and questioning, and the second one is high and irritated. That is why you must control the tone and the volume of your voice when you converse. Remember to adjust your tone and volume according to the circumstances. Speak confidently. The best way to speak confidently is to practice. Try not to rush. Similarly, try not to stall and insert filler words into your speech. The more you practice these speaking skills, the more comfortable you will become. Remember, these verbal skills do not only pertain to face-to-face communication. These skills are applicable in video and voice calls as well. Now that we know how to improve verbal communication, let's look at non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication is important as it is often the unsaid things that have the biggest impact. Imagine you were on a video call and said that you were listening, but the person could see that you were distracted. This would make them feel disrespected. So, how can we use non-verbal communication effectively? And how can we read the non-verbal cues that we see? Pay attention to body language. You can convey and understand a lot through body language. If you are the listener, make sure to maintain a good posture and look at the speaker. If you are the speaker and observe that a person is distracted, try to find a way to engage them or check their comprehension. Adapt based on facial expressions. When you are speaking, look at how your listeners are engaging with you. If you see a confused look on their face, it may be in your best interest to stop for questions. Look for gestures and manners. Gestures are a useful way to indicate something, so pay attention when people use them. You will often see people moving their hands while speaking for emphasis. Keep your attitude and etiquette in mind. As a speaker, make sure you convey your interest regarding the subject through your attitude and non-verbal cues. Also, ensure that you display exemplary etiquette whether you are the listener or speaker. This includes showing respect and listening properly. Verbal and non-verbal cues are often used in conjunction, so always keep both in mind. Written communication. It is often said, "A pen is mightier than a sword." What we write is eternal, and that is why writing is considered one of the most powerful ways of communicating. There are numerous written forms of communication that span from informal to formal. A text to your friend is vastly different from a document created for work. The strategies below are useful for multiple types of formal written communication, but certain strategies have been highlighted for particular documents. How can we make a formal writing interesting, coherent, and effective? Always proofread your work. Imagine you wanted to tell someone that you can do something, but instead you type "can't." By checking over your work, you catch these small errors that make huge differences. Vary sentence structure. It's always more interesting to read content that is introduced in a variety of ways. Instead of starting sentences with the same words, try framing your ideas differently. This is especially important for creative writing, as you want to ensure that your reader is engaged. Check that the writing flows smoothly. This is applicable to all writing. Ensure that one paragraph contains only one idea. A good way to move between paragraphs is using transition words. Let's move to the last type of communication, visual communication. Visual communication is an effective tool because it transcends literacy and language barriers. Through visuals, you can communicate with those who may either be illiterate or speak a different language. Let's look into strategies for visual communication now. Keep it simple. You want to make sure that the document you are creating is not overwhelming, whether it is a pamphlet, poster, or anything else. The key is to strike a balance between design elements and the information you are trying to convey. Make it relatable. Since visuals really have the power to influence someone, make it as relatable as possible. Think about all the TV and billboard ads you have seen. Which products do you actually buy? The ones that are applicable to the user will be the most effective in influencing them. Keep engagement at the forefront. Ensure the visual is eye-catching to make it more effective. Remember that these types of communication are not mutually exclusive. When someone is speaking to an audience, elements of verbal, non-verbal, written, and visual communication are used in combination. Now that you have learned about the main types of communication and effective skills for each type, you are well equipped for situations that require strong communication abilities. Remember that communication is a skill, so the more you practice, the more you will improve.